Have you ever looked around and wondered why some people seem to build wealth almost effortlessly, while others, perhaps just as smart, working just as hard, feel trapped in a cycle, financially stuck? What if I told you there's a hidden playbook? A set of unwritten rules the truly wealthy understand, and that they rarely share openly. Today I'm going to pull back the curtain on some of the most critical pages of that playbook. This isn't about making more money, though that's important. It's about keeping the money you make and making it work for you. It's about exposing the 10 worst assets, the hidden wealth destroyers, that silently drain your finances, keep you from building the life you deserve, and trap you in the financial rat race. These aren't always obviously bad investments. Sometimes they come disguised as symbols of success, achievements, or even necessities. But make no mistake, they are designed to keep your money flowing into someone else's pockets. Legendary investors, people who have built massive fortunes, have confirmed this secret time and again. They built their wealth not just by making brilliant investments, but by relentlessly avoiding these exact wealth-killing purchases that so many people make without a second thought. Pay close attention, especially to the last one on the list. It's arguably the most deceptive of all, and it might be a purchase you're considering right now, or one that's already a huge part of your life. Let's uncover these financial time bombs. It's time to take control. First up, 1. New cars, your money disappearing down the road. That new car smell. It's almost irresistible, isn't it? The gleaming paint, the pristine interior, the feeling of driving something brand new off the lot. It feels like an achievement. But here's the brutal financial truth. The moment you drive that brand new vehicle off the dealership lot, your investment has already lost a significant chunk of its value. We're talking about an immediate drop of around 15%. On a $40,000 car, that's like instantly throwing $6,000 out the window before you even pull into your driveway. And it gets worse. Within the first 5 years, that car will typically lose more than half its original value. That $40,000 vehicle is now worth less than $20,000. But if you financed it, you're often still paying back the original $40,000 plus interest. That $40,000 car could easily end up costing you $50,000 or more by the time you pay it off. Think about that. You're paying for something that's rapidly losing value. Financially savvy people, including billionaires like Warren Buffett, who famously drove a used Cadillac, rarely fall into this trap. They understand a fundamental truth. Cars are expenses, not investments. Real wealth comes from owning assets that appreciate, that go up in value, not things that depreciate the moment you acquire them. The smart strategy is simple but powerful. Look for vehicles that are 2 or 3 years old with low mileage. A used sedan or reliable SUV from a few years ago offers virtually the same driving experience, the same technology, and often still comes with a warranty. But you can save $10,000, $15,000, even more, right off the bat. And if you think you absolutely must have that new car, do the full calculation. That $40,000 you spent could have been invested. Just $40,000 invested in a broad stock market fund for 20 years could realistically grow to over $186,000. Is that fleeting new car smell truly worth trading away over $146,000 of your future wealth? Avoiding this single purchase can be one of the most impactful decisions you make. But if losing money on a depreciating vehicle sounds bad, wait until you hear about the next financial trap. It's a vacation investment that often becomes a lifelong financial burden that feels almost impossible to escape. 2. Timeshares, the contract you can never escape. Imagine owning a little piece of paradise, a place you can visit every single year, guaranteed. That's the enticing promise of a timeshare. But in reality, they are arguably one of the worst financial decisions anyone can make. They shouldn't even be called investments. It starts with a hefty upfront payment, often $20,000 or more. But that's just the down payment on a lifetime of fees. The smiling salespeople rarely emphasize the annual maintenance fees. They start maybe around $800, but they only increase over time, quickly climbing to $2,000 or more per year. And here's the kicker. It doesn't matter if you use the timeshare or not. You pay those fees every single year, without fail. When the novelty wears off, or your travel plans change, or reality finally hits, and you try to sell your timeshare, you discover the brutal truth. The market is flooded with desperate owners. People are trying everything to get rid of them, often willing to sell them for pennies on the dollar, or even paying someone to take over their contract. Robert from Miami learned this the hard way. He paid $30,000 for a Florida timeshare 5 years earlier. When he tried to sell it for $15,000, he didn't receive a single offer. Financially savvy people take a completely different approach. They simply book accommodations when and where they want to travel. They enjoy the freedom to choose different destinations, stay in updated properties, and best of all, they have zero ongoing financial commitments. Platforms that allow you to rent homes or apartments, or even hotel discounts, offer comparable, often better experiences for a fraction of the long-term cost of timeshare ownership. If you're already trapped in a timeshare contract, there are specialized companies that can help you exit, but be prepared to pay for their services. Prevention, as always, is much cheaper than the cure. Before signing any long-term contract, especially one tied to leisure, ask yourself, does this give me financial flexibility, or does it lock me into an inflexible, potentially inescapable commitment? Okay, let's keep going. Speaking of appearances versus reality, let's expose the third wealth killer that has people trading their financial future for a brief moment of admiration, often from strangers they don't even know. 3. Designer clothes and accessories. Buying status. That $2,000 designer handbag, or that $10,000 luxury watch. They might make you look successful in the moment. They might turn heads. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Many people who flaunt these status symbols are actually living financially in the red. They are trading real, tangible wealth, money that could be invested, that could be building their future, for a temporary illusion of prosperity. It's a fascinating paradox. While people buried in debt parade around with the latest luxury items, many genuine millionaires wear ordinary clothes and live discreetly. Think about Mark Zuckerberg, known for his simple gray t-shirts, or Warren Buffett, who still lives in the same modest house he bought in 1958. They understood that owning income-generating assets is infinitely more important than simply appearing rich. The math on this is relentless. That $500 pair of designer shoes doesn't just cost $500. It represents an opportunity cost. If that same $500 had been invested in a stock market fund with an average annual return of 8%, it could grow into more than $20,300 over 20 years. And if you bought those shoes on a credit card with an 18% annual interest rate, the real cost could easily double, maybe even triple, the sticker price. This doesn't mean you should never buy something beautiful or high quality. The issue is timing and proportion. The truly prosperous follow the assets first rule. They build a solid investment foundation before spending on luxuries. A good rule of thumb: if the luxury item costs more than 1% of your total net worth, it's probably too soon to buy it. If you genuinely appreciate luxury brands, consider smart alternatives. Resale platforms offer authentic designer items for a fraction of the original price. Or explore subscription models that let you wear designer clothes for events without the significant commitment of purchase. As wasteful as designer spending can be, at least you get something tangible in return, even if it depreciates. Our next wealth destroyer is even more insidious because it sells nothing but false hope, and people spend billions on it every year. 4. Lottery and gambling, the tax on hope. Did you know there's a tax that millions of people voluntarily pay, even though they have virtually zero chance of getting anything meaningful in return? That's the true cost of lottery tickets and gambling. It's a disguised tax on hope, and tragically, it primarily affects those who can least afford to lose their money. The odds are shocking. You are significantly more likely to be struck by lightning than to win the Powerball jackpot. To put that into perspective, you could fill a massive arena like Madison Square Garden with people and pick just one person to win a prize, and your chances would still be better than hitting the lottery. The average person spends hundreds of dollars annually on lottery tickets. Doesn't seem like much, right? But that same amount, invested consistently each month in a broad stock market fund for 30 years, with an average return of 8%, could result in over $50,000. Sarah from Ohio discovered this the hard way. She calculated that she had spent over $15,000 on lottery tickets over 12 years. Her total winnings during that entire time? Less than $50 on any single prize. Look at the behavior of genuinely wealthy people. They don't waste their money on microscopic chances. Instead, they make calculated bets on businesses, on real estate, on the stock market, where the odds, backed by research and strategy, are significantly more in their favor. They understand that real wealth comes from consistent, disciplined decisions, not from instant luck. If you feel that itch to gamble, create a limited play fund as part of your entertainment budget, perhaps no more than 1 or 2% of your disposable income. This way you can satisfy the occasional desire without compromising your financial future. Even better, redirect that impulse entirely. Explore investing apps that make saving and investing accessible and engaging, but with vastly more favorable long-term results. As harmful as gambling can be to your finances, at least it's often a relatively slow drain. Our fifth wealth destroyer works much faster. It's the financial equivalent of a high-speed vacuum for your wallet. And tragically, nearly 40% of Americans are caught in its trap right now. 5. Credit card debt. Your biggest financial enemy. That small piece of plastic in your pocket might be the single most dangerous tool for your financial health. With average interest rates often exceeding 20% annually, credit card debt that isn't paid in full every month is like a black hole, sucking away your future wealth and leaving only debt in its wake. The numbers are frightening. A debt of just $5,000 on your card, if you only make the minimum payment required, can take over 15 years to pay off. And the cost in interest alone? Over $10,000. It's like buying everything at double price. Dave from Boston learned this lesson the hard way. He accumulated $7,000 in debt buying furniture and electronics. After years of only making minimum payments, that $7,000 ended up costing him over $16,000 in total. Here's the trick the banks don't want you to know. They love when you pay just the minimum. They count on it. That minimum payment amount, whether it's $25 or $35, is scientifically calculated to keep you in debt for as long as possible while they collect astronomical amounts of interest. It is a perfect, legal wealth transfer from your future to the bank shareholders. Financially intelligent people use credit cards completely differently. They leverage the benefits, the air miles, the cash back, the fraud protection, but they pay the full balance every single month religiously. By doing this, they transform a potential trap into an advantageous tool. Cards offering 2% or more cash back on purchases effectively give you a return, but only if you never pay a single penny in interest. If you're already trapped in credit card debt, there is a way out. Adopt a focused strategy, like the avalanche method, where you focus intensely on paying off the card with the highest interest rate first, while making minimum payments on the others. Once the highest interest card is paid off, you redirect that freed up money to the next highest interest card, creating a powerful snowball effect. There are many apps and tools available to help you organize this process and stay motivated as you see your progress. While credit card debt might seem obvious once you understand the mechanics, our sixth wealth destroyer often comes disguised as a clear path to success. It's a costly credential that millions of Americans are still paying for decades after they receive it. 6. Expensive and useless degrees. Studying for debt. Go to college, get a good job. This advice, passed down through generations, is increasingly outdated in today's economic landscape. With the average cost of a 4-year degree soaring well over $100,000, many young people are graduating not just with a diploma, but with degrees that don't guarantee jobs and debts that will follow them for decades. The average student debt in the U.S. is staggering, around $37,000 per person. But for many graduates in specific fields, that amount is much, much higher, often exceeding $100,000. The critical problem arises when starting salaries in certain fields are so low that they make it almost impossible to pay off that amount in a reasonable time frame. Jennifer, for example, graduated with a visual arts degree and $60,000 in debt. Her first job paid only $32,000 annually. After 5 years, despite working, she still owed more than when she graduated because the minimum payments barely covered the interest. The real issue isn't education itself. Learning and skills are vital. It's the imbalance between the cost of the education and the potential return on that investment. Financially wise people analyze the return on investment, the ROI, of any education they consider. They ask critical questions. Will this degree truly increase my income enough to justify the cost? Is there a more direct, less expensive path to the career I want? Could I learn these essential skills more economically? Smart alternatives are booming. Certification programs in high-demand technical areas like IT, web development, or data analysis often cost less than $10,000 and can lead to starting jobs paying $60,000 or even more. Community colleges offer the first 2 years of general education for a fraction of the cost of traditional universities, allowing you to transfer later if needed. And online platforms provide high-quality courses and even full specializations for hundreds, not thousands, of dollars. If you're considering higher education, do your research. Look up average salaries for the career you want based on educational level. Compare programs and costs from different institutions. Explore starting at a community college, and aggressively pursue scholarships, federal aid, and employer reimbursement programs. These can dramatically reduce the net cost. At least with education, you are technically investing in your own skills and potential. But our seventh wealth destroyer is even more baffling. People spending small fortunes on items they rarely use, that constantly lose value, and that actually create more work and stress in their lives. 7. Boats and luxury items. Buying problems in the form of status. There's an old joke in the nautical world. The 2 best days in a boat owner's life are the day they buy it and the day they sell it. Behind that humor lies a painful financial truth many discover too late. Boats, vacation homes that sit empty most of the year, private planes. These are financial black holes disguised as status symbols. The true cost goes far, far beyond the initial purchase price. That $50,000 boat won't just cost you $50,000. It will easily cost another $5,000 to $10,000 annually in maintenance, insurance, storage fees, fuel, and unexpected repairs. And here's the worst part. Most of these luxury items sit idle for over 90% of the time. Mike from Tampa bought his dream boat for $65,000. He later calculated that he used it only 8 days a year. This resulted in a real cost of nearly $2,000 for every single day he was actually able to use the boat. Financially savvy people take a completely different approach. They rent luxury instead of buying it. Why spend $50,000 plus thousands in annual fees on a boat when you can rent a boat for $400 or $600 per day on the few occasions you actually want to go sailing? There are apps and membership clubs that give you access to these experiences without the enormous financial nightmare of ownership. The math is relentless. That $50,000 boat with $5,000 in annual maintenance over 10 years is a total expenditure of $100,000. If that same $100,000 had been invested in a market fund with an 8% average return, you would have approximately $215,000 after the same period. Are those few days on the water truly worth sacrificing over $115,000 of your future wealth? Consider the 5% rule. If the annual maintenance cost of a luxury item exceeds 5% of your annual after-tax income, you probably can't comfortably afford it. For those who truly desire these exclusive experiences, explore shared ownership or membership clubs that offer access without the full burden of ownership and expense. If buying expensive toys that constantly lose value seems unwise, our eighth wealth destroyer is far more subtle. It's marketed as both protection and investment, but it delivers poorly on both promises while making someone else very, very rich. 8. Whole life insurance, a slow and expensive investment. It's insurance and an investment all in one. That's the pitch many insurance agents use to sell whole life policies. But what they often don't mention is that you're essentially combining extremely expensive life insurance with an extremely low-yield investment product. The result is a financial product that fails to excel at either objective. The numbers are clear. Whole life insurance can cost 5 to 10 times more than term life insurance for the exact same amount of death benefit coverage. For instance, a 45-year-old man seeking $500,000 in coverage might pay around $400 annually for a 20-year term policy. For a whole life policy with the same coverage, he might pay $4,000 annually. That's a difference of $30,600 per year. Where does that extra money go? In the early years, almost your entire premium is eaten up by fees, commissions for the agent, and administrative costs. The investment component is incredibly inefficient. You might pay $40,000 in premiums over 10 years and have only $30,000 in accumulated cash value, meaning you could lose money if you try to access it early. James from Ohio discovered this when he tried to cash out his whole life policy after 8 years. He received significantly less money back than he had paid in premiums, while his agent had earned thousands in commissions right at the beginning of the policy. Financially astute people adopt a much more efficient strategy: buy term and invest the difference. They purchase inexpensive term life insurance policies to get the crucial protection they need during the years it matters most, when they have young, dependent children or a mortgage. Then, they take the substantial amount of money they saved by not buying expensive whole life and invest it in higher return vehicles like diversified stock market index funds or tax-advantaged retirement accounts like 401ks and IRAs. This strategy provides superior protection and builds significantly more wealth over time. If you already own a whole life policy and are having second thoughts, know that options exist. You can explore partial surrenders, policy loans, or tax-free exchanges into annuities or more efficient policies. It's critical to consult a fee-only financial planner for unbiased advice, someone who doesn't earn commissions based on the products they recommend. We've covered several costly financial mistakes so far, but our ninth wealth destroyer might be hitting you right now, perhaps even sitting in your pocket or purse. It's an expense that repeats year after year, driven by some of the most sophisticated marketing on the planet. Speaking of spending money unnecessarily, there's an entire industry dedicated to convincing you to replace things that still work perfectly with slightly improved versions. 9. Expensive gadgets and constant upgrades. The endless race. That new smartphone looks amazing, doesn't it? It has a slightly better camera, maybe a marginally faster processor than last year's model. But here's the truth the tech companies would rather you didn't dwell on. The actual difference in user experience between consecutive models rarely justifies the $1,000+ price tag to upgrade. The cycle is brilliantly, perversely efficient. Each new release is accompanied by a marketing blitz designed to make your current device, which is perfectly functional, suddenly seem obsolete. The giants in the tech industry have perfected the art of perceived obsolescence. They don't need your old product to break. They just need you to believe it's no longer good enough. And millions of us fall into this trap repeatedly. The numbers are startling. If you switch smartphones every year, you could easily spend over $12,000 on phones over a decade. If you simply keep your phone for 3 to 4 years instead, you would save $6,000, $8,000, or even more during that same period. Robert from Denver calculated that he had spent over $14,000 on smartphone upgrades in the past 10 years alone. Money that, if invested in a stock market fund, could have transformed into more than $20,000. Financially savvy people follow a simple rule. They use technology until it genuinely no longer meets their needs, not until the next model is released. Warren Buffett famously used the same flip phone for years while building a billion-dollar empire. It's not about avoiding technology, it's about using it strategically and logically, rather than emotionally. When you genuinely do need to upgrade, consider more economical options. Previous year's models often see significant price drops, 30% to 40%, once the new one is released. Certified refurbished devices offer similar warranties at a fraction of the price. And for computers, often a simple, relatively inexpensive upgrade to the RAM or adding a solid-state drive can give new life to an older machine for a couple of $100s, instead of spending $1,500 or more on a completely new system. We're almost there. We've exposed 9 significant wealth destroyers. Now for our final one, the one that might seem like the happiest, most anticipated purchase of your life, yet it leaves countless couples starting their journey together weighed down by a financial burden that can last for years. Let me show you how an entire industry has convinced people to spend a small fortune on just a single day. 10. Expensive weddings, one day, a lifetime of debt. They say it's the most special day of your life. And it absolutely should be unforgettable. But the truth is, the most special day of your life doesn't need to be the most expensive. With the average wedding cost in the US now exceeding $30,000, many couples are beginning their life together already drowning in debt. They are trading potentially decades of financial stability and growth for just a few hours of extravagant celebration. The social pressure surrounding weddings is immense. Magazines, TV shows, and social media bombard us with images promoting the idea that a wedding must be grandiose, lavish, and incredibly expensive to be meaningful. But the reality, backed by research, is that there is no correlation between the cost of the ceremony and the happiness or longevity of the marriage itself. In fact, some studies even suggest that couples who spend less on their weddings tend to stay together longer. Jennifer and Michael from Boston chose a different path. They opted for a beautiful, intimate ceremony that cost around $5,000. They used the $25,000 they saved as a down payment on their first property, a decision that substantially appreciated in value in just a few years. The real problem isn't celebrating your love. It's sacrificing your financial future for a single day. Consider the impact. That $30,000 spent on a wedding, if invested for retirement at age 30, could realistically grow to over $450,000 by age 65, assuming an 8% average annual return. Is it truly worth trading away nearly $500,000 of your future wealth for expensive flowers, lavish catering, and a DJ for just a few hours? Financially intelligent couples are redefining what an unforgettable wedding looks like. They focus on meaning instead of spectacle, experience instead of extravagance. Weekday ceremonies, receptions held in non-traditional venues like parks or museums, digital invitations, and minimalist decoration. These choices can easily cut the cost in half or more, while preserving all the genuinely special moments and allowing the couple to start their life together on solid financial ground. If you're planning a wedding, start by establishing a maximum budget before you research anything. The golden rule should be, don't spend more than you can comfortably pay for in cash, without compromising your long-term financial goals. There are many free budgeting tools available online that can help you keep costs under control. So there you have it. The 10 wealth destroyers the wealthy actively avoid. New cars, timeshares, designer items, lottery tickets, credit card debt, expensive and low-return degrees, luxury items you rarely use, costly whole life insurance, the endless gadget upgrade cycle, and overly expensive weddings. Most people are busy buying the illusion of wealth, spending their hard-earned money on things that depreciate, cost them interest, or simply don't provide a financial return. But now, you have the knowledge, you have the playbook, you understand the hidden costs and the powerful alternatives. Building real wealth isn't about getting lucky or earning a massive salary from day one. It's about consistent, disciplined decisions. It's about avoiding the traps, keeping your money, and putting it to work for you in appreciating assets. Your future self is counting on you. You have the power to make different choices today. Start by identifying which of these wealth traps might be impacting you and make a plan to eliminate it, one step at a time. You can build real financial security. You can achieve financial freedom. The journey starts now with the choices you make about where you put your money. Choose wisely.